Welcome to the Gen Z Marketer podcast, where we have marketing conversations and everything in between. A lot of small businesses now start online, more so due to the pandemic. Shopee is a well known marketplace that makes it easier for small business owners to start selling online and reach customers nationwide. In this episode, I will be sharing with you what you need to know and some tips on how to set up your Shopee store. This episode is made possible by ZBrand, a platform that makes branding accessible to entrepreneurs. They make it easier for businesses to build their brands. Check out episode 22 on how you can build your brand on the platform and click on the link on the description to get started on your brand before you start selling on Shopee. Now, let me share with you first my experience when it comes to selling with Shopee. So, by profession, I'm a marketer, and for the past 5 years, I've already worked with brands and in an agency or an e-commerce enabler. And by experience, I've worked in marketing. So I usually, do marketing campaigns for e-commerce. So websites, Lazada and Shopee, of course. And I've also had experience in managing the website of brands. So I have an idea already on what it's like or what it takes to run an online store or an e-commerce store. And last year, what happened was, of course, we had the COVID pandemic hit us, and eventually I lost my job. So, what I did was instead of looking for a new job, I decided to start selling online. And Shopee has been my platform of choice, and I have been selling in Shopee for a year already. So, I'm going to share with you what I really learned so far when it comes to selling in Shopee, especially for small businesses, and what tips or tricks that I can share with you so that you can start your own business in Shopee as well. So, first, how do you set up your Shopee store? So, first, you have to create an account. But if you already have a Shopee account, you know you can actually use that to sell as well because for Shopee, your account, you can use it as your buying account and you can use it as your selling account as well. So how do you access your selling account? So when you click on the profile tab on the Shopee app, you can see at the upper left corner that there's a My Shop tab. Once you click on it, you can already manage your Shopee store. So you need an account, of course, to start selling on Shopee. And as I said, you can use your buying account in doing so. But here's a tip. If you really want to establish a legit store, I suggest you create a separate account for your business just so your buyers would see your shop name or your shop username instead of your personal name or personal username on the shop. So that's one tip. You separate your buying and selling accounts. So for me, in my case, I do have my personal buying account, but I also have my selling account for the Modern Fashionista, which is my Shopee store. Next, of course, is how do you upload products? As I said, on your mobile or app or your tablet apps, basically the Shopee app, you can access already your shops when you click on the My Shop tab on the upper left side of the profile tab. And you can also upload products from there. So what do you need to upload a product? You're going to need photos, you're going to need video. Video is not a requirement, but if you do have video, it would be also a nice addition. You're going to need the product description and you need to make sure that your product category is accurate. You need to make sure that all of your uploads, or basically your photos, your video, your description, and your categories all adhere to Shopee policies. Otherwise, your product will get suspended or it will be banned. Okay, so that's a tip that you need to consider when you're uploading products. And one other thing, I would recommend if you are uploading products, I mean, you could always do it on the app, no problem. But if you're uploading a lot of products, I suggest you access the desktop version of Shopee. Basically, you go to seller.shopee.ph. That way, it's easier to upload products, I think, especially when you're using desktop because your photos are on file or if you've saved your descriptions in Word, you can do so. So for mass uploads, I would recommend using the website. Next is store design. So how do you upload your banners, store banners, your store description? that is better done, or that is usually done on the website. So as I said, I recommend you access that as well. But I think you could still put like a shop description through the app. I think this is one thing that I think you need to know. The accessibility or the features are different on the app and on the desktop. The desktop, I think, has the most cohesive features and is easier to use when it comes to store management, unlike the app, which is a little bit limited. But of course, for app, if you're posting on your shop, shop feed, or you're posting stories on your shop feed, that's how you do it. You do it on the app. But some of the features, even like marketing management, basically managing your vouchers or promos, I think it's best done on the desktop. But either is fine. Ultimately, you can use whatever it is that you have. But I think it's best to manage your shop if you use both. So next, how do you set up your payment methods? How do you offer COD, bank options and things like that? So usually you can set that up on your settings. I don't think you can do it in the app. I think it's best done in the desktop version as well when you access, as I said, seller.shopee.ph. And should you offer COD? It depends. Some sellers don't offer COD to avoid bogus buyers. For me, I still offer it as an option because there are still consumers that really prefer buying through COD. So automatically, when you set up your payment methods, you have toggles or options there, which payment options you will offer. Next, how do you ship your parcels? How do you send out packages? So, okay, this question is a little bit tricky because it depends on your courier. Okay. What do I mean by that? When you set up your Shopee account or your Shopee seller account, okay, so when you set up your Shopee account, your Shopee selling account, the couriers vary depending on where the pickup address is. So basically, there are some couriers that you can get when you live in certain areas. There are some that you don't. So for my case, when I set up my Shopee selling account, the default and the only courier that was available is JNT. So ever since then until now, I only ship through JNT because they're the ones who can do pickups, or I can do drop offs through JNT because they're basically the ones accessible in my area. So when you ship, I think, of course, my answer would be depending on JNT because that's my experience. And for JNT, what I like about JNT is they can do pickups or drop offs. So basically, you can schedule a pickup through the app, through the Shopee app. There's a setting there when you're about to ship your parcel, you're given the option for drop off and pick up. So for JNT, I usually do pickups. So the rider will come to my pickup address and pick up the parcel. Okay. So how do I get the way bills? How do I get the pouches? So there was a point when I started that I had to buy pouches. I had to buy bigger pouches because there are some parcels that do not fit the regular JNT pouch. But of course, by experience, JNT does provide pouches if you ask for it. So usually, of course, when you have your first parcel or your first package, I don't think you would have pouches on the get-go, but you can always ask the rider. But sometimes the riders do not even carry pouches, so maybe for your first parcel, I suggest you drop off the package at JNT so that you can get a pouch, something like that. So pouches, the courier or JNT does provide them, but you have to ask for it. And but if your parcel does not fit the regular pouches, I do suggest you invest on packaging. Way bills, when I started a year ago, JNT would print the way bills. So when they come and pick up the parcels, they would give me the way bills and have to stick the way bills on the pouches, on the parcels, and then turn it over to JNT. But now, for the past few months, now I have to like print my way bills because JNT has this standard now basically that they don't print the way bills for pickups. I think it's for them it's easier if the parcel is already ready for pickups. I'm not sure if they still print the waybills if you're doing drop-offs. I think it would be best if you get in touch with your courier or with JNT regarding that. But for me now, I have to print my waybills. Some people invest on a thermal printer. For me, I don't get that much orders, so I print mine on sticker papers and I just put clear tape on top so that when it gets wet, it doesn't get smudged. Last is the RTS. What is RTS? RTS is return to sender. And unfortunately, you do have experiences wherein you have encountered either a bogus buyer or a buyer who suddenly decided to not accept the order. So how does that work? My experience with JNT usually when it's returned to sender, it's pretty smooth. They would basically it's just like you receiving your parcels. They would deliver it to your house, and there would be a note there that it's RTS or return to sender. So if you do have questions about other couriers like GoGo Express, Shopee Express, Ninja Van, I think it would be best if you search for the information in Shopee's FAQ for sellers. They do have a seller center with all the information that you need per courier. So if you do have questions for other couriers, you can check that out. Next is how do you withdraw your earnings? How do you get paid in Shopee once the orders are successful? One thing first, the buyer has to click on the order received button so that the money that or basically your earning would be in your wallet. So if they don't click on order received, the money will automatically be in your wallet after 5 days. So the wallet, is it the Shopee Pay wallet? Is it no, it's not. It's basically your income wallet. It's on the seller center that you can access it. But after you get that income, you still have to withdraw it. There are several withdraw options, but usually what I do is I withdraw it through my bank. I do have BDO and BPI, and just a tip, for some reason the withdrawal for BPI is faster than BDO. Usually within 24 hours, you already get the money on your bank. So you need to set that up as well so that you can withdraw your income into your bank account or wherever. So also one thing, for Shopee, the withdrawal of money is free once a week. So I suggest you pick a certain day where you withdraw all your earnings. Otherwise, if you withdraw more than once in a week, you would get a 15 peso charge if I remember completely. So I suggest, as I said, withdraw it once a week. So next question, what are the Shopee fees? How does Shopee charge you for the orders? Okay. So this for the Shopee fees currently, if I remember correctly, it's 2.24%. Although they also do have fees if you're a member of the cashback program. I'm not 100% sure how it's computed, but if you want to see how it's computed, you could check the seller center. But I remember seeing a memo that starting July, they would be changing the fees or the fees would be updated. So they do update the fees every once in a while. So I suggest that you check out the seller center or you check out Shopee announcements if the fees are changing or anything because they do change it or they do update it every once in a while. So of course, you have Shopee fees to consider, which is why when you're putting or when you're selling products on Shopee, you still have to have a markup for your earnings or basically, for you to earn something. And of course, you need to consider the Shopee fees. Next is preferred seller. How do you become a preferred seller? Okay, so for preferred seller, they have several categories or several criteria that you need to meet. But ultimately, it basically means you have to have a good selling record. You need to be adhering to the Shopee guidelines. You need to meet, if I remember correctly, 50 orders in a month. I'm not sure if that has changed. So I was a preferred seller at some point, but unfortunately, I'm currently not a preferred seller because I do not meet the minimum orders for the preferred seller status. But you can easily get it as long as you adhere to their criteria. You do not have any records or points because Shopee does have a point system that for penalties. So if you don't ship your orders on time, if your product descriptions are inaccurate or things like that, Shopee will give you points on that, and or your ratings. If you do not have good ratings, Shopee will give you points on that. So as I said, how do you study the couriers or the fees or the preferred seller? Shopee does, other than the seller center that has all of the details you need. They have it in video, or they write it, they have it in article form. So if you want to read that, I suggest you do read that first if you have other questions. And I suggest also, if you want to really learn more on how you can maximize selling on Shopee, I recommend going through their Shopee University. So it's basically a free service or a free webinar service that Shopee offers monthly. They have several topics every month. So they usually offer this for new sellers, or even seasoned or experienced sellers can also attend this. So if you want to learn more about Shopee, what guidelines and everything, I suggest you attend that. They do have a Facebook group or Viber group for Shopee University, but by that way you're updated with anything related to selling on Shopee. So I hope this episode, or what I've talked about or what I shared, has really given you an idea on what it's like to sell on Shopee. And honestly, personal review, okay, so far I really do appreciate Shopee. They have been my anchor for my online business. It's really easy to sell on Shopee. It's accessible for anyone, especially you're a student. It's really I think it's a platform really good for small businesses. So if you have any questions related to Shopee, you can always reach out to me in my socials at the Gen Z Marketer Podcast on Facebook, at Gen Z MKT on Instagram, and at www.genzmkt.com. Don't forget to follow the podcast also to get notified on the latest uploads.